There is a fundamental difference between surrendering and trusting, and the difference makes all the difference. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Fired Podcast. It's time to go. Every week, it always feels like it's been a million years since I last hit record and said some lovely words to you people. So, always excited to jump back on. Today, very interesting topic. So, recently I've encountered, I suppose, a real life example, a real life thing that really allowed me to embody this lesson of the fundamental difference between surrendering to things and trusting. Because for ages, I always thought they were the same thing. And I heard it sort of said one day, that actually, there's a difference here and here's the difference. And I was like, oh yeah, and it didn't kind of sink in and land. And I think that's probably the way things are for most people. You can hear things and they kind of intellectually make sense, but until you actually experience them and learn how to embody them, you don't really extract the lessons properly. Like they don't quite sink in and land until you actually go through them. So, and it's so funny. I used to resist the idea of surrendering a lot, and I don't know if this is maybe a male thing or just maybe it's an ego thing. This idea of surrendering. I think we're always when we grow up, we watch all the movies, and when you surrender and you raise the white flag, if you like, it's not always a good thing. It's like, oh, you don't surrender, you don't give up, And I think that's so much of what we see, especially within the personal development space. It's like never give in, never give up. And the idea of surrendering in this context isn't that. It's not giving up or giving in. It's more the term like allowing things, right? And I used to have a lot of friends, specifically a lot of females who would say that to me, just surrender to it, just surrender, just flow, just let things kind of happen. And it was something that I really resisted a lot. And especially in relation to resting, just surrender, allow your body to rest, give yourself that time and that ability to rest up and to do those things that you need to do. And it's something that I just resisted so hard. I was just like, I don't like the idea of surrendering, resting, or anything like that. I was just like, nah, I'm just not interested. And it is, I suppose, a difficult thing. Once again, I don't know if it's just a guy thing, but it is a difficult thing, I think, for just people in general to let go and to surrender to things. I think it's hard. We want to sort of be in control all the time. And I think that's a human thing. But life, the universe, whatever you want to call it, isn't simple like that. We don't have control over a lot of things. Life is unpredictable. Life happens. And as much as we try as humans to control it, it's somewhat uncontrollable. And I think that's what's frustrating people, and that's why people don't want to surrender. And I've been one of those people for a long time. That said, though, recently in the last year or two, I've really learned more and more how to surrender, and still have resistance to it at times, of course, but have gotten a lot better at the idea of surrendering and just seeing it as a good thing. Just surrender to it, just embrace it, rather than fighting against things and thinking, oh, they shouldn't be the way they are, and trying to control everything. Just surrendering to the things that happen and allowing them to be what they are. And that's a great step. And I think that's a really important thing for a lot of people. Fucking drink break. Jesus. Oh, it's quite early in the morning, so My throat's still getting used to life at this point. Oh, so that's the first component, is this surrender. And I think going from a place where you're just trying to control everything and battle against everything and fight things, being able to relax and surrender and allow things to happen and take place the way they are, is, I think, a beautiful first step. And what I've since learned, and also had a lot of resistance around, was the idea of trusting. And for a long time, they were like the same thing for me, and there was resistance and all the thing. But it was only, in the last few months that I've really lent into this idea of just trusting, and not just allowing things to happen, but trusting that things will happen and unfold as they're meant to. And that's really the fundamental piece here. You can just surrender and say, life's unpredictable, I'm just going to allow whatever happens to happen. And that's one point of view, but I feel that trust is that next level. It is letting go and allowing, but from the point of view of that things don't just happen, but everything happens and everything unfolds exactly how it's meant to. One of my mentors, Lewis Mocker, always says, it's perfect, divine, and right on time. What happened was exactly as it was meant to. It was perfect. It was divine. It was supposed to happen. There's a plan in it, and it happened exactly when it was meant to happen. And I feel like that's the next level. You can surrender and just allow things to happen and be like, look, this is an ideal situation. This isn't what I want. I had a plan of how I wanted to do things, and this is how I wanted to do things today, and this and this and this and this. And then everything gets fucking thrown out of whack because life throws curveballs at you. And you have to look at it and go, okay, well, all right, I can surrender and allow these things to happen. Or you can choose to take even that higher perspective and look at it and go, oh, well, okay, this is in ways that I don't currently yet understand. Things are unfolding for my benefit. They're unfolding exactly how they're meant to. And that is a challenging fucking thing to do. But what's awesome is, while it's challenging, when you can really embody that and let that sink in and let that be the way that you conduct yourself, it's actually so freeing and brings you a lot of peace. And I think we do this a lot in hindsight. Like 6 months later, we look back on something and go, oh, well, that's what's meant to happen. Or if someone questions us around something, it's like, oh, well, I had this girl and I wanted her to be this person for me, and, so on and so forth. And I had this plan and we would do this and this and this and this. And then things didn't work out and we broke up, whatever. And it's like, oh, so that can, you might look at that and go, that was a really shitty moment and that was a shit time and I wish we were still together and all that kind of stuff, right? But then you look at it and it's like, okay, well, if that didn't happen exactly when it happened, what else then happened for you after that? And it's like, oh, well, that actually allowed me to get this job, which allowed me to meet this person, which allowed me to do this thing and do this and this and this and this. And it's like, oh, so if it didn't happen exactly as it did and exactly at the time, all these other things wouldn't have just fallen into place. It's like, oh, yeah. So you can look at that and go, well, that's just a coincidence that all these things happened. But it's like, regardless of whether they're a coincidence or not, they wouldn't have happened unless that initial first thing happened. So it's like, oh, how beautiful that thing happened. Or you could choose to take that higher perspective that, okay, in ways that I don't understand, whether it's the universe or a God or whatever the fuck you want to call it, things fall into place. Things happen, and in ways that we can't explain, the dominoes seem to align for us in ways that we don't understand until we look back on it and go, oh, that actually all worked out perfectly. Even though at the time, things can be stressful or you can be in a bit of a panic situation around, well, what am I going to do if this happens and these things happen? And that's really the beauty in it. I think surrendering is this idea of when these things happen, surrender to them and just allow them to be what they are, versus trust, which is not just in the present or something like that. It's kind of all three. You can look back at things in the past and say, I trust that even though this thing happened, it was bad, that it happened to allow things to align and stack up for me, and the dominoes shift for things to work out in the future or things to work out for me now. And you can also take that view in the future and say, I trust that things will work out for me and these things will all align and fall into place. And you can use it in the present. Like, I trust that whatever's happening now is exactly what's supposed to happen for my greatest benefit and my greatest growth down the track. And so it's this higher perspective. I'm not just, I'll just surrender and allow these things to happen. It's, well, no, I'm trusting that not only are these things happening and I have no control over them and whatever else, and just surrendering to it. It's trust that whatever happens is exactly what's supposed to happen. Why? Because it's what's happening. And two, because it's not just happening because it's supposed to happen because it's happening now. It's supposed to happen because it's setting you up for whatever that next thing is, which is the next thing and the next thing. And it's easy to look back on things and see all those things fall into place and then go, oh, okay, that makes sense. But it is more challenging to hold that point of view in the present when shit's going fucking wrong or things aren't going to plan and you're worried about the future not going to plan. Having that point of view of trust, that I trust that everything will fucking work out and everything is aligning for my benefit. And even though today is a challenging day or whatever it might be, whatever's happening is exactly what's supposed to happen and is going to be one section in those chapters of the greatest growth and are going to set you up to be the best version of yourself. And is that true? I don't fucking know. But it sure beats the hell out of thinking the alternative. So I choose to hold that as a belief system because it's more resourceful for me. It serves me to believe that that's true and helps me have a better point of view than not. So I invite you to take a higher level of trust that even though if you might be in a difficult situation right now, or it might be a hard day or a hard month or a hard year or whatever it is, that everything that's happening is unfolding and aligning and setting things up for your greatest growth. And it's very easy to get stuck and stressed and frustrated in everything that's happening. Take that first step to just surrender and go, okay, I can't change what's happening. These things are outside of my control. Me stressing about them, being frustrated about them isn't necessarily helpful for me right now. What's a more resourceful path? And allowing things to happen. That's the first step. And if you feel like you're already there, you're getting to that point, then I invite you to take that next step. Have that level of trust that these things are happening. And not only are they not in your control, but they are happening for you and not to you. And they're happening to allow things to shape into the best fucking things for you moving forward. It's going to set up the best life down the track. It's going to set up the best version of you. It's going to teach you all the lessons that you need to know. So when you get to those challenges down the track, that you've got the skills in place. You've already gone through enough of the stuff that you can make those decisions quicker. You can act quicker. And you can get through those challenges a whole lot better. So while that first step is surrendering and accepting that things happen and not trying to control things, that having that level of trust is that next step that not only that things happen, but everything happens exactly as it's meant to. And everything is aligning for you, for things to work out for you. And the challenges and the pain and all the problems and all the stress and the challenges and all that shit is happening for you. And when you can accept that, it makes those challenges, it makes the pain, the problems, it makes all of it so much easier. As much as it's challenging to let go and see that and feel that, just having that trust, that faith, that belief that everything will work out, and that even though it's challenging now and it's hard now, that actually is things working out, and that's also perfect. The good, the bad, everything is perfect. It's divine. It's right on time. It's exactly what's supposed to happen. And it's all setting you up for the best shit that's to come. Maybe it's not true. Maybe it's true. I don't know. But fuck if it's not a great way to fucking live. And a more resourceful way to see the things that are happening. Not to you, for you. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. I trust that you'll have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye. I didn't come up with an outro thing. Fuck. I'm gonna keep that. That's fucking dope.